Okay, so on this 1994 Ford F-150, it's a half-ton two-wheel drive. One of the problems that we have is the wheel cylinders were leaking, and someone put the same brake pads, the same length brake pads on one side and the other two on the other. And what that means is they put two shorts on one side and two longs on the other. So the way this vehicle braked, there was lots of problems. It had a very sensitive brake pedal. There was brake fluid being lost. One of the drive pins for the wheel cylinder drive pin, one of these drive pins, it wasn't even engaged into the brake shoe. Okay, so there was lots of problems. Anyway, here's another point that I'd like to point out here. It's something that I even forgot to do. Before you take this rear brake pad off, take this little clip out. Now what I've done is I've clamped that onto the face of this axle flange here, holding this, because this thing is a difficult little guy to get out. And when you get the kits, you get a new one, but if you're going to reuse the old one, well, you don't want to destroy this thing, so you just want to kind of bump this guy out, and just by clamping it on there helps. Now see, when someone had clamped this little guy on here before, they bent it a little bit. That's all right. These things, they bend and they move, and that's fine as long as it's clamped on there and it's holding this pin and it's holding it in the groove the way it's supposed to hold it. It'll be fine. They're usually a little tricky to get off, especially if you don't take it off before you remove those clips. So when I put this back on there, I'll show you how I do it, and everybody's got a different way. So I'm going to talk about the factory service manual and the method that I use, and hopefully out of that information you can come up with a plan. Okay, so I've got this laid out kind of in a general manner. There are a couple of things that I haven't put on there, laid out there, but this is a general idea about how it lays out. Okay, and I took the adjuster apart, I put some grease in there. Okay, this is the little wavy washer here that goes on that, and I'll show that in a minute. Okay, and there's a certain way that these stack on there. So these are the parts that I've got. This is all from O'Reilly. That's the brake shoes. Brake shoes were cheap, like maybe 12 or 15 bucks. This is the kit. That's the hardware kit, okay? And these are the wheel cylinders. I don't remember which one is the right or the left. I don't remember. Don't remember that. The thing that doesn't come with any of the kit are these little pins here. These don't come with the kit. This emergency brake thing doesn't come. And this little guy here, this doesn't come with the kit either. Now, the way the book shows the order of operations, it shows to install the parking brake on there first, clean that and lubricate it, lightly coat the shoe guides, position the brake shoes on there with the retaining pins. Okay, put the brake shoes, install them on. Okay, that's what they're saying. And then after you install the brake shoes on, they want you to check to make sure the slots are lined up and make sure that the separator is in the proper place. Okay, and then the next step after that, they want to adjust the wheel adjuster, and the long side faces towards the front. So this picture is of the driver's side, and we're working on the passenger side. So, and then they want you to install in the adjusting pawl, okay? And then they want you to install the cable guide, and the cable guide is this thing right here. That's the cable guide. And on the other side, on this particular vehicle, that thing was missing. Wasn't even on there. And so then they show to install the adjusting cable eye. Now that's how this thing stacks up. It has this little guy here first, then the cable eye is next. Okay, install the cable eye, And then of course you're going to connect the cable to the spring to the lever, install the drum, and adjust for clearance. So once you install this cable eye on there, okay, then you're going to install the springs and stack those springs up. So you're going to put the spring that retains the cable eye guide after the cable eyelet. You're going to put that on next, and then there's another short spring. This spring right here is going to go last on top. And so I'll show some of that in just a minute, just kind of try to get you guys a step. Alright, so one of the things I'm going to do here is put this parking shoe on here. I've got it lubricated a bit there. You want to get your wavy washer and put that on there. And then when you get the kit's going to come with a couple of washers. One of them is flat. That's for the adjuster. This wavy washer is for this. And this is where I was talking about before, where the way I like to do it is I like to clamp this with the vice grips like this. I'm sorry, I'm probably in the way a little bit. But I clamp this with the vice grips. And that collapses that wavy washer so that you can get this little clip in there and squeeze it on there nicely. It just slides in there like that. Let me get some pliers. Put that on there with some pliers. Squeeze it together. That's all it takes. It's a simple job. And I'm going through quite a bit more instruction on this. It's the state that I found this in was really bad. These brakes were in bad shape, so we're going to try to go step by step on this and make sure folks get a good idea about how things go together. So when it comes time for them to do it, this will cut down a bit of the confusion. So we've got that on there, and the next step is we'll have to align these things, these little pins. Go up and down. I had them turned the other way, so that we're going to install the little clips on there. Now you can hold those little clips with almost anything that you want, but it's always a tricky job. There's a special tool that you can buy that holds these things, and the way they're made, they fit into the spring a bit there, and if you squeeze it, it stays in there, kind of clicks in there, but it doesn't always stay the way you like. So it may be something you might have to fiddle around with a bit to get it, and that's fine. But you're going to want to put the pin in there, get your brake pad assembly, your brake shoe assembly up here, and kind of just line it up. You'll always have to hold that pin with your other hand. You just kind of stack this stuff up on there because you're working with one hand. So if you do have the correct tool, that correct tool helps, but it's not impossible just to do it with just any old pliers. And some folks just grab it with their fingers and shove it on there with their fingers. So if that's where you're at, that's fine. Just want to turn it and make sure that it's engaged, okay? Because if that little guy pops off, it's going to fly out behind you somewhere on the ground and fall in a crack. You're going to lose it, so that's not fun, and we just want to have fun, right? So we've got the rearmost shoe installed, okay, so I've got this rearmost brake shoe installed, and I just wanted to make a note about something that I even mess up on sometimes. I think I even had these things laid out on the ground backwards. But I'm going to go over how I figured out which way this is supposed to go. Even though the book shows it on the driver's side, the information that I'm using to figure out what's what on this, because they do make these two shoes, they do make them a little different, is that this little anchor pin right here, you'll see that the pad material goes right past the anchor pin right here for the emergency brake anchor pin, and then the pad in the front has the holes, okay? So that's how we've got it here. We've got the anchor pin with the pad material, the shoe material coming up to here, and then the shoe that goes on the front it's going to have the holes at the top. It's going to have the holes at the top like that. So that's how we're doing it. Okay, and what I guess to clear up a little confusion about that is, from my experience, the short pad length always went in the front. Well, when I hold these two together to measure which one is shorter and which one is longer, they're both the same. And the other part about the shoe in the front information that I had was that the shoe in the front is the one that had thicker pad material. And in this case here, it looks like the thicker pad material is on this one in the back. And according to the pictures on the factory service manual, they have it pictured like this. So they've either got it backwards, or in this particular model, that doesn't apply. So I'm just going to put it together according to the factory manual. The way that it was assembled previously was wrong, and someone had put everything on here wrong. So I'm kind of starting from scratch, and I usually go by the information that I've got. So I'm just moving along with installing all this stuff. That spring, even that spring that was on there was messed up and not on there properly. This little spring was all toasted, so I'm just trying to get this thing. Okay, so I got it all together. I wasn't too happy how that tool was working on the passenger side. Ended up using a pair of vice grips, and it seems like this tool is designed for the other side and not this side, because the hook is facing, that little hook is facing inward, and it just makes it a tricky job. So I did it with a pair of vice grips. It seemed like it worked fine. That's how everything stacks. This particular little guy here, it goes this way. Now if you flip this around so that it's upside down, then it interferes with this spring here. It gets up under it right there. So it has to be this way, okay? So we've got this spring in there. Everything is engaged. The little apply pins are engaged. Okay, the adjuster is hooked on. Everything is connected. Everything's there. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to put the drum on there and adjust this so that they just barely touch. Okay, and that's good enough. I can adjust it by putting the vehicle in reverse and hitting the brakes in reverse, and then that'll automatically adjust it out the rest of the way. So this is going to be the extent of the video. Just make sure you clean this flange off. This vehicle is a 1994, so there's a little bit of rust. And, you know, I had to sand all this off and clean it up real nice, and I put some silicone grease on there, cleaned up the brake drum. So this is going to be it for this. I hope that this helps somebody. I had some frustration with that tool. I really wanted to show it being done with that tool, so we'll just have to take it for what it is. So anyway, y'all have a good day, and I hope this helps somebody.